So imagine that every time you look at a simple stone on the ground or like a star in the night sky, you're actually accessing this deeply woven hidden cosmic network.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Today we are really decoding the exact mechanism of how the universe's abstract source code, literally solidifies into the physical reality you can touch and feel.
It's a heavy topic for sure.
It really is. We are looking at some incredibly profound source material today, and we're going to examine the very limits of human perception. I mean, the text opens with this really fascinating assertion, saying that when human sight looks at the world indirectly, like through our physical senses, it just feels completely trapped within space and time.
It does, yeah. And that feeling of being trapped is, well, it's actually the perfect starting point for this whole analysis.
Right.
The text refers to these concepts as makaniyat, which is basically space, and zamaniyat, which is time. You see, our physical eyes rely on things like light and distance and perspective just to function. Because our tools of perception are limited by these physical boundaries, our minds just automatically build walls around everything we try to understand. We try to put the entire infinite universe and even the creator into these neat, finite little boxes.
Which, naturally leads us to a really bold claim the source material makes regarding how we define the creator.
Right, the big philosophical terms.
Exactly. It brings up these massive terms like Wahdat-ul-Wajood, meaning the unity of existence, and Wahdat-ush-Shuhood, the unity of witnessing. But the text doesn't praise these terms at all. It actually says they are like mere human inventions.
Yeah.
That we just made them up because our intellect is so limited.
SubhanAllah, that is the core issue right there. Human vocabulary is just inherently flawed when you're trying to capture absolute infinity.
Yeah, completely flawed.
But when we say unity of existence, we are using a human word unity, which implies this mathematical concept of one as opposed to two or three.
Right, like counting.
Exactly. But the creator's reality doesn't exist on a human number line at all. The text argues that it is entirely impossible to encapsulate the true nature of Allah's unity using our restricted, time-bound language.
I see.
When human beings describe unity, they are actually just describing the absolute limit of their own understanding, not the actual reality of the creator.
Okay, let's unpack this with an analogy because it can sound a bit abstract.
Please do.
Think about a two-dimensional character drawn on a flat piece of paper. That character only understands length and width. They have no concept of up or, depth.
Right.
Now, if that 2D character tries to comprehend our 3D world, what happens? They can't do it. They just end up stretching their own 2D concepts, trying to explain something that fundamentally exists outside their reality.
That's a brilliant way to put it.
Thanks. That is exactly what we are doing when we debate these massive spiritual terms. We aren't describing the creator, we are just mapping out the edges of our own two-dimensional paper.
That is a highly accurate way to visualize it. We constantly project our own boundaries onto the boundless. And if we accept that our language and our physical senses completely fail to capture the creator, it brings up a really necessary question.
Which is?
Well, how does anything from the creator actually reach us? The source material explains that divine knowledge doesn't just appear randomly out of nowhere. It actually descends into our reality in highly specific, structured stages. It provides what we might call a metaphysical anatomy of perception.
And this is where the text completely blew my mind. It breaks down the descent of knowledge into 5 distinct steps.
Let's go through them.
So the first stage is idrak, which translates to cognition or perception. But what does that actually mean in this context? Is it just like a vague awareness?
Yeah, idrak is the absolute first whisper of descending knowledge. It is raw, completely formless potential.
Okay.
But it doesn't stay that way. The text explains that when this raw cognition deepens and rests on a single point for a moment, it transforms into the second stage, which is niga, or sight.
So it's like a fleeting awareness suddenly catching your eye.
Exactly.
But if it just catches your eye and moves on, nothing happens, right?
Yeah.
The text says if it doesn't deepen, it just fades.
Correct.
But if that niga stays fixed, we enter the third stage, khayal, which is thought or imagination. Here, the reflection of that knowledge creates an actual feeling.
Right. But a feeling is still pretty abstract. It is still just a thought floating around in your consciousness, and this is where the mechanism becomes really critical.
What happens next?
The fourth stage is goyai, meaning speech or expression. The text explains that when your focus on that feeling becomes incredibly concentrated, physical features begin to form. The abstract feeling starts taking on a shape, an identity.
Wait, I need to stop you there because this is the leap that's hard to grasp.
Yeah.
How does an abstract feeling suddenly get physical features.
It's intense.
Yeah. We're talking about a thought literally turning into something tangible.
Think of it like a magnifying glass catching the rays of the sun.
Oh, okay.
Sunlight on its own is just a scattered, ambient feeling of warmth, right? But if you take a magnifying glass and focus those rays onto a single precise point on a piece of paper, that ambient warmth mathematically condenses.
Right, it gets super hot.
Exactly. It becomes so concentrated that it burns a physical, visible mark into the paper. That is goyai. The intense focus of the soul's energy creates features where there were absolutely none.
Oh, well, that makes so much sense. It's the concentration of energy that forces the manifestation.
Yes, precisely.
And that leads directly to the fifth and final stage, which is lambs, or touch. The text states that when the soul's waves center entirely on this concentrated crowd of expressions, a physical sensation is created.
SubhanAllah, it's an incredible process.
It really is. This means that an absolute abstract thought descends through these stages, mathematically condensing until it becomes a physical sensation you can literally touch.
Yes.
So for you listening right now, what does this all mean for how we literally feel the world around us? When you physically feel the chair you're sitting in or the ground under your feet, you aren't just feeling matter, you are literally touching condensed divine knowledge.
It radically changes how we view reality, doesn't it? And if our physical sensations are simply condensed divine knowledge, then it stands to reason that the physical constraints of our lives, our bodies, the space we occupy, and the time we experience, they must also be a form of this knowledge.
Exactly. The text explains that creation descends step by step.
Yeah.
The soul actually creates a body of flesh and bone purely as a vehicle for manifestation.
Right. The body is just a vessel.
Yeah, our physical bodies aren't our true selves. They're just tools the soul builds to interact with this condensed knowledge. But if my body is just a manifestation of knowledge, how does the text define time and space? Because it provides a mind-bending definition here.
It really does.
It says time and space are not external grids that we live inside.
No, they aren't at all. We usually think of time as the ticking of a clock on the wall and space as the room we are sitting in.
Right.
But the text defines time and space simply as the progression of our senses. To illustrate this, the source uses the example of a newborn baby.
Oh, I love this example.
When a one-day-old baby enters its second day of life, it undergoes a massive, invisible transformation. Its senses adapt, its internal organs change, its perception of the environment shifts completely.
So the text is arguing that this exact physical and sensory change is the expansion of time and space.
Yeah.
The progression from state A to state B in our senses is what creates the illusion of time passing.
Precisely. You don't move through time, your senses simply update their knowledge.
Wow.
And if life is just the continuous updating of sensory knowledge, we have to look at what happens when the physical body fails. What happens at death?
Because if time is tied to our physical senses, death must completely break that clock, right?
It does. The text makes it absolutely clear that death is not an end, and it is certainly not a final wall. Death is simply the acquisition of what the text calls ilm-i-jadid, which means new knowledge.
New knowledge, interesting.
Yes. When the physical body is left behind, the soul is completely freed from the constraints of time and space.
Yeah.
It no longer has to process knowledge through the slow, limiting filter of physical flesh. It gains immediate access to a much broader, higher level of consciousness.
So death is essentially an upgrade in our operating system.
That's a great modern way to frame it.
But to understand how the soul travels through life and into this new knowledge after death, we really need to understand the architecture of the universe it's moving through.
Absolutely.
The text outlines this architecture beautifully. It says that all of creation is built entirely out of light, organized into 3 overlapping circles of the cosmos. Let's walk through these, starting with the first circle.
Okay, so the first circle is the realm of the unseen. You can think of it as the ultimate reservoir.
Like a deep well.
Exactly. It contains all the profound mysteries, the raw energy, and the underlying reasons and wisdoms for why creation exists at all. It is the absolute core foundation.
Then we have the second circle, which the text calls Noor, or light.
Yes.
The circle takes that raw, limitless energy from the first circle and starts organizing it. It creates the rules, the physical laws, and the directives of life.
And finally, there's the third circle, which is manifestation. This is the realm of physical reality and action.
Where we are right now.
Exactly. It acts as a comprehensive record of actions for absolutely all creatures in existence. And I mean, not just humans and jinn, but every single particle of creation.
Now, I really want to clarify something crucial from the source text here. When we use the word circles, it's very easy to picture three separate hoops floating in the air, one inside the other.
That's a common misconception.
Right. But the text insists that this is just a limitation of our language. They aren't separate at all. They are completely intertwined layers, fused together like the pages of a single book.
That distinction is vital. They are not separate locations you travel between. They exist simultaneously, layered perfectly over one another.
Okay, let's unpack this. It's like the source code, the software, and the image on the screen all happening at once.
Spot on.
Think of a video game on your computer. The first circle, the unseen, is the underlying source code, the raw, invisible data that dictates everything. The second circle, the light, is the software engine that processes that code and turns it into rules of physics within the game. And the third circle, manifestation, is the actual image you see on your monitor and interact with.
It's all connected.
Yeah. The code, the engine, and the screen image aren't happening in three different places. They are all happening at the exact same time, layered on top of each other, creating one reality.
A very grounded way to view it. The universe's source code, its processing engine, and its physical manifestation are all unified.
Okay, so the next logical question the text addresses is, how does a human being access those deeper circles? I mean, how do we look past the image on the screen and read the source code?
Right, because if we are trapped by our physical senses, how do we break through? The text points to the power of tafakkur, which means relentless deep reflection.
Tafakkur?
Yes. It actually compares the spiritual journey to the scientific process. In science, one researcher develops a theory, passes away, and the next generation of scientists builds upon it, perfecting it over decades.
That makes sense.
Spiritual knowledge requires that exact same rigorous, layered pursuit.
So a spiritual traveler using tafakkur begins by examining their conscious mind.
Yes, and through relentless reflection, they pierce that layer and enter the subconscious. But it doesn't stop there.
Right, they keep going.
By pushing further, they eventually reach what the text calls wara-ul-la, which is the super subconscious. This is the profound state where a human being can finally comprehend the Creator's intentions and the underlying mechanisms of the universe.
And the text explicitly links our ability to access this super subconscious to the divine breath. This is a monumental concept rooted deeply in Scripture.
It truly is.
The text provides specific verses to illustrate the power of this breath, which must be shared exactly as prescribed to understand the depth of it. To show the literal transformative power of the divine breath.
Beautifully recited.
It points to the miracles of Prophet Isa, or Jesus, who by the command and knowledge of Allah breathed life into clay birds. It's the ultimate manifestation of kun, or be.
Yes, it is the animating force of all consciousness.
Right.
The text specifically references that cosmic covenant mentioned in the verses, am I not your Lord? And the souls replied, yes. What is crucial here is the mechanism behind that interaction.
What do you mean?
Well, before that divine breath, the souls were in a state of suspended unawareness. It was only when that breath interacted with them that they gained the sudden capacity to hear the question, to perceive their Creator, and to actually answer.
Oh, wow. So that breath gave us our fundamental consciousness.
Exactly.
And our ability to use that consciousness to access the super subconscious and converse with the Creator is what separates human beings from the rest of the cosmos.
Yeah.
Which leads us directly to the concept of the divine trust, or the emanat.
The emanat is the heaviest burden in existence.
It sounds like it.
The text outlines 3 levels of divine knowledge, but notes that it is this specific trust that makes a creature accountable. The text brings up the awe-inspiring reality that the Creator offered this trust to the heavens, the earth, and the mountains, but they all refused to carry it.
He refused it.
Yes, fearing they would completely shatter under its weight.
Wait, I really want you to stop and think about the massive implication here.
Go on.
If the mountains refuse the trust, that means a mountain isn't just a dead rock.
Right.
To refuse an offer, you must have the intellect to understand it, and the free will to say no. This text implies that everything in the universe, every rock, every planet, every sky, has intellect and consciousness.
It completely upends how we view the natural world, doesn't it?
It really does.
The heavens and the earth understood their own structural limits and respectfully declined, but the human being accepted it. Because of this, the text points out that humanity is described as ignorant and unjust.
Which kind of feels like a contradiction.
Yeah, so.
Well, on one hand, we are supposed to be the vice-regent, the naive, the ultimate representative. On the other hand, we are called ignorant for taking the job. Why?
Because taking the title without doing the work is the absolute definition of ignorance.
Oh, I see.
The human is only superior, only the true vicegerent, if they actually put in the effort to learn the laws of creation, what the text calls ilm yul azmer, the knowledge of the names and hidden realities.
Right, right.
If a human just walks around absorbed in their physical ego, never reflecting, never learning the underlying code of the cosmos, then they are a failure. In that scenario, the mountains and the skies are vastly wiser than the human, because at least the mountains knew their own limits.
Wow. So if we want to avoid being ignorant, if we want to actually step up and be the vicegerent, how do we learn these laws? The text gives us a highly specific practical methodology, right?
Yes, it does. The Muraqabah of law, which translates to the meditation of negation,
Negation.
says we must unlearn everything we think we know.
That sounds intense. That is the pivotal step.
Absolutely. Law literally means no, or negation. The text instructs the spiritual traveler that to find true reality, they must first mentally negate all the fictional, sense-based knowledge they have gathered since birth.
Fictional knowledge.
Yes, everything you see, hear, and touch with your physical body must be actively denoued as absolute truth.
But wait, if I'm listening to this right now, and I'm stressed about my physical job or I'm holding my physical phone, why should I treat all of that as fiction? I mean, it feels very real to me.
It feels real, yes, but it is entirely temporary.
Okay.
The text explains that the physical world is in a state of constant, relentless change. Your body ages, circumstances shift, objects decay.
True.
But true reality, by definition, never changes. It is permanent. If you base your entire understanding of existence on a physical world that is constantly shifting, you are building a house on quicksand.
That's a great analogy.
You sort of have to hit the mute button on your physical senses to hear the quiet, unchanging truth underneath.
The source material uses some brilliant examples to drive this home. It talks about a child raised in a jungle. Because their sensory input is limited entirely to animals, their reality becomes animalistic.
Exactly. Their environment dictates their truth.
Or consider a child born deaf and blind. Their entire universe is constructed only from what little input they receive. But the best example the text gives is about a stone.
I love the stone example.
It says, if you have never in your life seen or known what a stone is, then even if stone is sitting right in front of you, it literally does not exist in your reality.
That is the ultimate conclusion of this whole concept. Knowledge is existence. Ignorance is non-existence. If you don't have the knowledge of a thing, it cannot exist in your universe. The text reveals that the entire operating program of the universe is purely made of knowledge.
So when I recognize a lion at the zoo, or when I look up and recognize a specific star in the sky, I'm not just identifying an object with my physical eyes.
No, you aren't.
The text is saying that my ability to recognize it means there is a deeply woven hidden connection of shared knowledge linking my human soul directly to that animal or directly to that star millions of light years away.
Precisely. You share the exact same source code.
That's mind-blowing.
And when a spiritual traveler uses the Muraqabah of negation to strip away the physical illusions and actually activates this shared spiritual connection, the results are just staggering.
What happens?
The text notes that such a person can tap into that cosmic network and see millions of years into the past or millions of years into the future simply because time and space are no longer blinding them.
What an unbelievable paradigm shift. We aren't just isolated bodies wandering around. We are nodes in an infinite network of divine knowledge.
Mashallah, yes, we are.
And that leaves us with a final, really provocative thought for you to carry with you today. If your simple ability to recognize a stone on the ground or a star in the sky implies a deeply woven, hidden spiritual connection between your soul and that object, what happens when you look at the people in your life? What happens when you look at a stranger on the street, or even your worst enemies? What unseen, profound cosmic network are you interacting with right this exact second without even realizing it?
That's something to really reflect on.
It really is.